Hi, Collette. Lovely to see you again.
Hi, David.
And yeah, we're just going to have a conversation about your realization and also about your experiences through life, really. So, yeah, I'll just let you begin and then we can just allow the conversation to roll as it does.
Just to say, has it been a week since we had our meeting,
Yes,
the
yes,
Self Realisation? Yes, it's
yes.
only been a week. But a bit of background. I grew up in the Midlands, just quite a fairly normal family with a good working ethic. Worked in the family business, but I first started to have a sense. I realized now, looking back, that I used to, when I was lying in bed as a child, I used to feel like I was on the ceiling, not looking down at myself, but just very expanded.
Yes.
And it wasn't scary. It was just what happened, really. And then I think it wasn't until probably my teens that I noticed I was a beauty therapist. And I used to do, when I did massage and facials, the therapy side of beauty therapy, I used to get completely blissed out. So, and, it was just such a great experience. And I never got tired. And people used to say, "Oh, you've got such healing hands." And I just thought, I was only 16. I didn't know what they were talking about. And I just thought, gosh, I just really like doing that. It was just just flowed for me. I'm trying to think if there's anything else in my career going. When I became a model, I used to connect to to people that were very close to me, like the makeup artist. And I used to give them information, and I didn't really realize that I was doing it. It's just that when they said, "Oh, you're so wise," I just thought, what are they going on about? And then I had some sense that I'd said something to them that they seemed quite pleased about, but I didn't really have much of an idea of what I'd said, really. So I guess I was having these experiences, and since I've spoken to other people and they have different types of experiences to me, but it was just sort of happening in the background. I think I mentioned to you that sometimes when I'm speaking to people, just have a normal personality conversation.
Yes.
But you get the feeling that maybe you just need to sit back and listen a little bit more than normal. And you just become, I think I mentioned, you become like a giant ear listening to them. And it's because I just get the sense that I just need to hold the space while they talk. And so things like this have sort of happened all the way through my life, and I haven't really thought much about it. It seemed to be just something that almost just kicks in when it's needed. I don't try and do it. I get an inkling to do it, so I can be quite busy and chatty with somebody, and then suddenly think, oh, hang on a minute here. I need to step back now. Something needs to be said. So I really am quite normal. But these things were just subtly in the background when they needed to happen, really.
I think sometimes, I think this is true of lots of human beings. We tend to overlook the things which come to us very easily. Quite often there can be extraordinary abilities. We don't see them that way. We just see them as being normal, and everyone sees themselves as being normal. So, things like being able to, give knowledge to people, or that, having healing abilities, they're things that just seem totally easy to us. And so that's, I think when you say that you're normal, I think that, in one sense, that's absolutely true. In another, there are probably some very profound gifts which probably you're only just beginning to reveal themselves. There are probably lots of other things available to you. And with realization, they tend to come forward more.
Yeah, I guess I thought somebody that's spiritual wears a kaftan and floats around with lots of jewelry on. So I guess that's why I feel normal. I don't, you know, yes, I can chant. And in fact, when I chant, a whole other stuff happens as well. You know, I can go off and do all sorts, but I don't particularly do it. And like meditation, I've done meditation and, you know, I can have all sorts of sparkly experiences, but again, I don't particularly do it. I just sort of go about my day and don't really focus. I think because it is quite normal. It's what, that it doesn't really affect my day, doesn't affect my personality. It's just there.
Yes.
It's just, you know, part of who you are. Yeah. But I think now with the realization, you start to understand it more. It's like the bits start to fit together of, oh, I was doing that. And okay, oh, that's what that was. Yes. So all sorts to fit together. But I don't know whether we want to talk about, the leading up to our realization conversation. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. Well, something I'd like to just mention before there is just the way I think, you know, you say about being normal. I think that what you exemplify is the ability to, you know, to have a proper family life. You know, you're married, you have children, you know, you have a successful career as well, but also there's spiritual depth within that. And you know, I think that, you know, you probably say, oh, I'm just normal, but I think it's great that you can demonstrate that you can live in those different realms of experience, and there isn't anything that you need to put to one side.
Yeah, I remember feeling myself actually when I started to get into more energy realization. I think I thought I was quite afraid of self-realizing because I thought, well, I've got a family and I've got to function and go about my day. I can't just be blissed out and not get anything done, you know, and I don't want to scare the children. I want them to recognize me. And of course, now jumping to last week of the self-realization, nothing changes. I think you think it's going to be some mind-blowing thing and you're just going to float around the room and you're going to, I don't know, talk differently and act differently, but it's what we always are. So you're not actually any different. It's just the realization of what you are. And yes, there are things, we're jumping ahead now, but there are things that are different. Like the seeing is different because it's immediate. Yes. I'm trying to, because I've only just self-realized, I think I get the sense that it's quite important for me to be able to explain, because it was only last week that I was seeing differently. So it's just that it's very immediate. Whereas before it sort of was processed through the personality and mind. Yes. And there was a little bit of friction in there. There was a doing, because I was practicing the other day to see what was it like when I go through the head, because it's still so recent, I can go back and forth. Yes. And it's the way it's different is it's just immediate, it's clearer, and it's just this. Yes. It's just absolutely this. And when I go prior to self-realization, it was through a busy mind. So there was something in the way, a veil. They say a veil. Yes. I see it when I was practicing, going backwards and forwards. I see it as friction, as like a little bit of static. Yes, that's so. It's not immediate. You're going through something. Yes. But now it's just this. It's just instant. And I know they say that there's just saying. There is just saying. There's nothing in between that. Sorry, I've jumped ahead. I'm not quite sure where I'm going now. That's really good. What I'd like you to mention, though, Collette, which we touched on, you know, before the recording, is just you were saying about the way you experience presence. You know, the way you mentioned that Eckhart Tolle's book, The Power of Now, played a part at a certain point.
and the way there was this practicing of being present. And you just described that in a really good way, because most of us go through that experience from feeling that we're a human being who can experience something like presence, and then we're trying to stabilize that. But then the way you described it is just really clear. So
when I first came across Eckhart Tolle's book, it literally blew my mind that he says, if you can witness to your thoughts, you're not your mind. And that was just like, whoa. And then I was like, I can witness my body. Who's witnessing the thoughts then? And who's witnessing the body? And because I thought I was my mind and my body, like most people. You're wandering around, you're a person, you've got a mind in your body, and your mind is who you are. So that sort of blew it wide open. And then I became the witnesser, but I was the personality witnessing.
Right.
So it's an enjoyable experience. It does create peace, but I think it almost pointed me in the wrong direction. So it was brilliant to say, for me to realize I wasn't the mind, I wasn't the body, and I was a witnesser. But I think I got caught up in being the person witnessing.
Yes.
So I was looking for presence. So I would sit outside and I'd think, oh, it's time to be present. So the person is present. You know, and it's very nice. It's lovely, a lovely thing to do. You have a cup of coffee and you sit outside and you look at the flowers and you look at the, you know, whatever's there. How you're driving and you're just present with the trees, and you know, and it's a nice state because it stops the mind from the constant mind chatter. So so it was a positive step, but it wasn't until recently, a couple of weeks ago, that I suddenly realized I had the flip where my instead of me, I've got to try and remember how it was, instead of the person looking and being to be present, I was the presence. I literally had a flip. My vision flipped. So I suddenly realized I am the presence. I'm not the personality looking for the presence. I am the presence.
Yes.
And then you're like, whoa, I'm the presence. Okay. So I guess, and then it was at that point, I've been watching videos for quite a while anyway, and I'd seen a lot of the conscious TV ones. And I think I started to realize that it was very close, self-realization. And I also started to realize, because people say it's so close you miss it. I was thinking, what is so close that you miss it? What's the closest thing to me now? And it's just this, which is self-realization, but I'd identified it as Collette.
Yes.
And as a personality. And you unlocked that when I had the self-realization session with you. We did a meditation. I call it a meditation. Yes. And almost at the very beginning, you said something to me about how I'd grown up, and the awareness had been identified as Collette. And in my head, it was like, when you were talking, I wrote it down because it's, excuse me, trying to find it. I don't know, I put it now. But I was wanting to, the misidentification, I want to get it right so that other people can grasp it. This was my normal experience of this, but I thought it was Collette. But this, that we all experience every day, that we all are, is actually, I don't know the word for it. There isn't a word, is there? Is everything. We are already everything. It's that close. We are already it. Yes. We have just thought, and everybody else told us that this was I can only say Collette. And I wonder if you could explain why we think that's the person we are. That this is self-realization, but we think it's the person, and then just things get layered on top that makes it more and more the person. Is that what happens?
Yeah, well, it actually begins from birth, because when we're really young, we are experiencing the totality. So everything is being experienced in unity. So whether there are thoughts arising, or whether there are emotions, or there could be family members around, or the wind blowing, or just whatever's arising in the moment is just arising, but it's experienced in unity. So we're not labeling it, we're not comparing it, it's just totally direct. But it's just the way we're introduced to the conditioning, which is from our parents usually, and close family members, where they begin to refer to us as a human being in time and space. So they would say, they're referring to you by name. They begin to mention certain personal qualities and attributes, and so the invitation to identify with the body mind is something which comes quite early on in life. And when we're very young, though, we're actually, I remember this when I was a little boy, the body mind is seen to be an object within the three-dimensional realm. We're not seeing it as who we are. We're just seeing the body mind in the same way as we see the table or the chair or the window. But it's through the conditioning we receive from our parents, we believe that there is certainly the focal point, which is available because of the mind and the senses, but it's more like a virtual reality suit that we have available to us. And, and when we utilize that, we can experience the three-dimensional realm. But it's just that it's so compelling, because virtually everyone we meet, if we read a book or turn on the TV, or, go to the cinema, have a conversation with somebody, go to school, all of those means are, convincing us that we're existing as an individual. So it's hardly surprising that it becomes the dominant way of experiencing. So,
yeah, I kept just getting that I believed them. They told me I was Collette, and I believed them. They told me this was Collette, and I believed them. When you were talking me through the meditation, I just kept repeating that. I just couldn't quite believe I'd actually fallen for it. Like, how could I believe them?
Yes. Yeah.
But it's so hard for the mind to grasp.
Yes. Well, because the mind's dualistic. So the place we actually realize our true nature is in the body of wisdom, which is effortless being. So when we just rest as what we truly are, which is just the effortless open space of neutral, impersonal being, then everything is already totally full. But it's just that we've consented to a dualistic experience. So when we consent to having a human mind, that gives it the option for that dualistic experience and for the subject-object mode to arise. But if we just revert to what is really simple in this moment, it's really just a matter of seeing that we are the infinite being. We've never been anything else. And there is this mode which is available to us, which is the mode of personalization.
Which we do tend to. I've had a few moments where I thought, oh my God, I've lost it. I've lost it. But I know that I can't, because it's what I am.
Yes.
But it's just, it seems to be that there's a mode that you can go in and out. You can go towards the personality.
Yes.
And act the personality, not be the personality, but there's always a background, a lot stronger background of being. It's almost, and the being, when you do something very mundane like pegging the washing on the line, that it's just, it's hard to describe. it's just so immediate. It's just this. You're just pegging the washer on the line.
Yeah.
There's nothing in between. Normally, there's like stuff going on in between. You're the doer. You're doing something. You're busy doing something. Busy. But in this mode, there's just washing being pegged on the line.
Yeah.
And it's actually quite magical. You're sort of looking at it thinking, wow. Wow. And there's something so just gorgeous about pegging the washing on the line. And I think I was telling you earlier before we started recording that I've been having, I was quite busy after self-realization. So, but these last couple of days I've actually had a cold. So I've had more time to just be, and I've had quite a few moments where you just literally drop deep, and you almost can't move. Probably about 5 times a day, I just have moments of, obviously, if there was an emergency, you could get up.
Yes.
And you sort of know that, but you just think, oh, should I just surrender a little bit more, a bit more, and a bit more. And it's almost like you can't move something of you knows you can move, but it's so deep. And I've also had it while standing up. It just starts from the top of your head and it just drops.
Yes.
It's almost like the nervous system just, I don't know if it's the nervous system. I got the idea it might be the nervous system. It's just settling.
Relaxation, yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what other thing. I don't really want to speak about what other things have changed for me, and it's only been a week, so I'm no expert. There's that awareness. There's always that sea of whatever it is there, background of silence. I think I thought, and things fall away a lot quicker. Things that might have irked you before. You get a bit of a pull and then it just drops away.
Yes.
Which is so nice. So you have moments like this where you just see a hedge and you just think, wow, a hedge, some grass. You get I think I was mentioning about the water bottle. I'd got a water bottle on the table and I shut the dishwasher and I noticed the rings in the bottle of water. It was just like fascinating. I was like, I kept tapping the bottle and watching the rings. I don't think I would have noticed stuff like that. So you seem to see really fine detail in things.
Yes.
Even just driving along, or you see something on a car underneath the car, a tiny little thing, you think, what is that? And it's like, why am I even noticing something under a car while I'm driving on a busy road? Obviously I'm very safe, but you just suddenly see fine detail of things.
Yes.
Hard to describe, maybe just because there's that clarity there.
Yeah.
You see more. It's a lot broad. It's like peripheral vision. It's the only similar thing you could say to it. It's like peripheral vision, but with the sharp focus on certain things.
Yes.
And you get fascinated by things and you just laugh at nothing. And like spontaneous laughter. And everybody thinks you're mad. I'm just thinking if there's anything else. I
think you're very lucky that your life seems to have been quite balanced, and the ability to experience excuse me, through the body of bliss still seems to be there very much for you, and it seems as though you never really lost that it's always been very close to the surface. I think when people have experienced extreme suffering, then sometimes it seems to be obscured a little bit, but for you it seems to be to still be there very easily.
I think I did experience quite a lot of pain for quite a few years, and I went to see a healer, and again I thought, I'm not sure, it was like my last ditch effort. I'd been to Harley Street, I'd been to the NHS, I tried everything, and somebody recommended a healer, and I really thought that he would have feathers in his hair and make me stand on one foot while he danced around me or something. I had no idea what a healer was. And he was also a cranial osteopath, so obviously it was more of that, not the dancing around me, chanting. And at the end, he had his hand on the base of my spine, and he said, when I pull away, don't lift up, just relax. And when he pulled away, I had like a spontaneous movement where my body it was like it was healing itself. It just unwound. It did various movements, and I could stop it. And I said to him, is this all right? And he's like, absolutely fine. It's just the body healing itself. And so I think it was a Kundalini awakening from the base of my spine, because it was a movement coming up through my body, you know, of all different forms. So I think, although I obviously did have the connection to the body of wisdom before that, I think that probably cleared out quite a bit. But even though I've had those things, I think it is accessible to a lot of people. They just don't realize. Because I do have conversations with people, and pretty much every single person you speak to has had some sort of experience, but they just don't talk about it.
Yeah, it's great to get one-to-one conversations. I found that with a lot of the people I've spoken with, you know, they've had the most amazing experiences, and it's, as you say, it's a high proportion of the people. Yeah.
So I think it's so available to us all. It's not that you've got to go to India or meditate for 30 years or, you know, we are already it. And I know that is hard to hear when you're seeking. It was so funny because I didn't actually think I was a seeker. I was like, I'm not a seeker, am I? You know, towards the end when I was like watching loads of videos, because I was getting close and I was watching lots of videos, and some videos you get a lot out. It's different teachers, different for different times. I did quickly look at some of Tony Parsons because he is very, just chops everything off. And they keep coming back to, you're not anything else. You know, so but that wasn't for me all the way through. That was just at that point, you know, it was a very short point. And how you explain, I think you have a connection, quite a deep connection to the body, and I think that's why you resonated with me, because you talk a lot about the different
the koshas.
The koshas. So I understand it, but I don't understand it, if you know what I mean. And a lot of people don't talk about don't talk about the different body, you know, there's the wisdom, and which I was accessing. And I think if I'd learned about that, I might have had, well, it doesn't matter.
You've been accessing it all your life, really, without realizing. It's one of those things that tends to be overlooked, because everyone is told that it's all going on in the mind. We don't realize there are these very specific modes through which we can experience. Once we become aware of them, then we can utilize them in a way which is just much more enjoyable and much clearer, really. So but the ability to function from the body of wisdom was there. Well, it's actually there for everyone, because it's the foundation of experience. It's just that if someone tells you that we're experiencing through the mind, and we've been told that since we were 2 years old, then we tend to believe them. But once they're, for most people, it is only a matter of just a little bit of fine tuning, because the clarity is there. But the perfection in the way realization happens, you know, just talking of your sequence, you can just see how absolutely precise everything is, because even the experiences you were having just 2 weeks ago were essential to have that realization prior to total realization. And so it isn't something, it seems as though we're finding these things as a seeker, but actually they're being revealed to us. The self reveals itself to itself.
I did do the work by Byron Katie as well. I think that did help, because it gets you to the truth of your thoughts.
How long ago was that, Collette?
Well, I actually saw Byron Katie live many years ago. I've sort of picked it up and dropped it type of thing, but probably 2 years ago, I picked it back up again and literally did the work on everything.
Yes.
Any hook that came up, anything where I could see that the ego was triggered. I think, oh, great. Okay, what is that? What's the thought behind that trigger? And then, is it true? And I do absolutely know it's true. Or how does that feel in the body? And then, it feels like a tight knot. And then you look at that, what is that tight knot? And the more and more you look at it, it just dissipates. Yes. And I think all of that helped me to have clarity and to let go of the triggers and the mind, because with a trigger, you get the mind chatter.
Yes.
Afterwards. Something triggers you think they shouldn't be doing that, blah, 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 and then you have this running commentary with yourself about what you might say to them, and what if you had it is absolutely nuts that you do a conversation with somebody in your head. So all of that doesn't happen if you hop on. So I really think that helped me, and I know some spiritual teachers say you don't need to do any of that and self-help, but I think that listening to the Eckhart Tolle thing. I'm trying to think if there was anything else. Just teachers that resonate. And definitely not, if something doesn't resonate, absolutely don't go along with it, because it's it's not right for you at that time. Never force anything. In fact, I almost had so it has heightened. So in lockdown, I didn't do anything. I focused on health and fitness and keeping well, and that way didn't do anything spiritual at all. No meditation, nothing. And then it's probably just been this last year. I forgot where I was going with it.
I like the thing you were saying about Byron Katie, though, because there was a sense of inspiration in dealing with that. As you were saying, as the triggers were arising, it was almost something that you really enjoyed. You sort of dismantled those constructs, and it was something you really enjoyed. And I think that's a great, that's really your intuition, because it's just showing that we can resolve things in that way, but it's following the feeling level, which you've done right the way through. And that's been the consistent thing. And it's really demonstrating that you function from your own sovereignty rather than believing what any teacher says. And it's your own intuition functioning from the body of wisdom, which has revealed realization to you. And by trusting one's own intuition over and above what anyone else is saying, you can pick something up, it has value for a while, and then you move on from that and just continue trusting your own sovereignty and intuition. And then fantastic.
I was actually quite shy to contact you, because you sort of think, oh, I don't know, should I be doing this? I don't know what I was, whatever the personality is saying.
Yes.
And I was literally, something took me over. Yes. And I was pacing the room, texting you or emailing you, because I knew if I didn't want to, there was something didn't want me to stop.
Yes.
So the distraction was the pacing. So I kept on, so I did contact you, and we had the session, and obviously that was I knew I was close, and that was I just knew there was potential.
Yes.
I knew there was potential, and I felt this, that surely the closest thing is just this.
Yes.
What is the closest thing? But it's the identity thing that you helped reveal, and that was obviously the final
domino
realization. What do you say?
The final domino.
Yeah, exactly. The final domino. Brilliant. Yes, yes, it was.
I really like the thing you said about about this conversation too. When I asked if you would be willing to record a conversation, because you were saying that on the level of individuality there was a little bit of resistance to that, but it's really nice to see that the functioning from your infinite nature, sort of, because you've surrendered to that, or surrendering has happened, then you've agreed to the conversation, even though the individual was saying, I'm not sure about this. And
the individual was shy, not wanting to, well, what have I got to say? You've got some incredible stories. And I just thought, well, what am I, the individual said,
yes.
what I'm just so normal. What am I going to? But then there was, what am I going to offer? But I knew, but there was a knowing that it doesn't matter. Whatever comes.
Yes.
If it's meant to come, it will.
Yeah.
And also, if it helps somebody else who thinks they're normal,
nice.
Of his own normal.
Well, the nice thing is that we don't actually know how the self is going to reveal itself to itself. So, I'm sure there are things that you've mentioned in this conversation. So I get loads of emails where people say to me, oh, I was watching this conversation you were having with this particular person, and they just said something. So, there's a high possibility that just things that you've said will just trigger somebody into realization. So, and we never know what that is. That's the amazing thing, really.
Yeah. Well, for you, but do you not have an intuition when you're doing your guided?
Yes, certainly.
Realization.
Yes.
Because you hit the nail right on the head right at the beginning. And I didn't say anything because I was just in it.
Yes.
And then I was just shocked that I'd believed. and so we went along for quite a long time. I think I just started laughing because the realization, then I think I think you asked me a question and I said that
you can see it at that point. Yeah.
I think I've got it. It would have been interesting to have videoed that, wouldn't it? It was a shame my internet wasn't working. Because have you got videos of people actually self-realizing?
Yeah, I have actually. Yeah.
Oh.
It tends to be that it's quite often a fairly intimate thing, because that sometimes people reveal quite confidential information in those recordings. So as you were saying, because your internet was down on the day, we had to do it on WhatsApp. But it's good that self-realization can be achieved on WhatsApp as well.
It was phone. Yeah, it wasn't even video, was it? It was just yeah. But it was nice. I got to see you right at the very beginning.
Yes,
I think that was quite important actually for me.
Yes, yeah, me too. It was just that it was like a connection. It was like unity was established from the outset.
Yeah, that was really nice. Yeah, I don't know whether I've got anything else I can. I can, so I've got what's next. So now I just have deep rest occurs. Seeing is very immediate, not filtered. So how many a weekend? Background of silence all the time. The sense of needing to control falls away.
Yes,
that's something I've noticed. And then the moments of doubt are quite interesting as well. That you think, have I lost it?
Yeah. They're quite amusing though, aren't they? Because you can't lose it once it's seen. But
you're like, nice try, but no, actually.
Yes, that's a great way to put it. Yeah.
But I think if you, oops, the wind's blowing. I think, what's going to say? Yeah, it'll be interesting how it evolves, but I'm happy with just this, just this, because it is it's so similar. There is no big ta-da.
No.
I mean, the problem, maybe there is for other people, but for me, that there wasn't it's just is.
Well, I think because your whole experience has been progressive probably since birth.
Yeah.
And, you've obviously had a few challenges, as all human beings do, but the intensity that some people experience can make it seem as though there is a massive shift into realization, because if
Yeah.
someone is in deep depression or
Oh,
fear
yeah.
or something else running, but
Yeah.
because you were in a really good space, and actually you were functioning from the body of wisdom and accessing the body of bliss all along anyway, right through your
Yeah.
life.
Yeah, I think
So
so.
it's been quite a smooth transition, but it's nice to explain that, because that's the truth for lots of people, that realization is it's something which is, well, it's the gateless gate. So it appears as though something's happening when really we just remain, and it's just that we see through the mistaken identity.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there was some fear as well came up, mainly because I'd watched videos online of people saying it's not the bed of roses when you self-realize. It can be the dark night of the soul. I think that scared me a bit. And I think that's why I came to you, because I felt safe with you. I felt like you were, I just felt safe. So I thought, well, he'll do then. I'll be safe there. You know, that's sort of what I got, that, you know, I'm in safe hands. I'll be fine. But there was some, you know, just prior to thinking, no, maybe I shouldn't do this.
Yeah. Yeah, because the mind doesn't know. So it's the mind which gives rise to the fear.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know whether there's more, whether there is some stuff to come up to deal with.
There may be one or two minor invitations. I think because you process so much with Byron Katie and with Eckhart, and you know, just the way things have unfolded for you right through your life, it should be quite smooth for you, really.
Well, I always felt that you shouldn't feel that discordance in your body. You shouldn't be feeling this. You shouldn't be, not like in a, oh, you shouldn't be feeling, not in that sort of way. It's just like, we don't have to feel like this. We don't have to feel angry or, you know, it's not right. This isn't right for my body. I need to, so that's why I really wanted to work on it, because I was like, who wants this? Who wants to be, you know, triggered and pattern behavior, and just wanted to get rid of it all. So I think that's why I did it before.
Brilliant. Well, you're a great example of someone who's integrated all the various aspects of the human experience without having to go very far home. You can talk about the pilgrimage from Derby to West Sussex. That's the only pilgrimage required.
Yeah. Oh, I had a funny thing. I don't know whether you'll keep this in the, but I'm just going to mention it anyway. I always felt like, why do we have to get on a plane to travel to places?
Yes.
And it's a bit odd. This is another one of those odd things that I sort of say to people and they look completely blank at me. But I have like, why? I feel like I can just, I mean, not like I'm going to transport myself there, but I can be there.
Yes.
Now.
Exactly.
So why on earth do I get on a plane, get to the airport, fly all the way there, when it's just there?
Exactly, yes. Well, I agree with you, Collette. But you know, my feeling is that every location is just a slightly different vibration. And in the same way as we've been conditioned into using speech, which is a really clumsy form of communication, when telepathy is going on all the time. You know, I think the same applies to travel to different places, that air travel is a very clumsy form of, you know, of travel, when, you know, when really I'm sure the ability just to consciously shift the vibrational frequency, we can actually be anywhere. And that,
I guess because we are everything,
exactly,
we can access it.
Yes.
It seems to be places I've already been before, seems very natural to be able to just be there.
Yes. Because you can feel them, I guess, can't you? You're so familiar with the feeling.
And I've had that with people's, I've had another strange thing. So if I pick up somebody's jacket, they've left it at the house, and it's almost like I am them when I pick it up. I'm like, whoa. Wow. I'm like, I take on their characteristics into my body. I feel like I can walk like them. And I'm like, that's a bit odd. And then I just put it down.
Yeah. Well, those abilities have just been natural to you, and so Yeah, it's just people don't talk about them, but actually they're
Yeah.
available. I think the more we accept them, the more they can happen.
And also people recognize them,
Yes.
you know, because other people have probably experienced that, but maybe not recognized it, just thought, oh, it's the
Yes.
memory of them,
Yes.
and popping it down. Yeah.
Mm.
I don't think there's any other weird things.
Well, you're quite a paradox, really, because in a spiritual sense, you know, you've had some amazing experiences which are slightly weird. Well, not really. but you're also, you know, just very straightforward human being, you know, in your personal sense. So that's but it's, I think that's the thing, but we tend to overlook the things which are extraordinary and see them as being ordinary because they've always been there.
Ordinary, yeah. And that's why we think we miss it,
Yes.
because it's there all the time. It's who we are.
Yes.
It just is.
Yes. But it does seem to be, it does seem to become easier. It's just so nice that realization is happening for so many people now. And the, you know, I think the more stabilization of that knowing is available, then the easier and easier it becomes. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see who steps into your space for you to reveal it to them.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. I'm still just fascinated by this.
Yeah, yeah.
Just this. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thanks so much, Collette. It's been
Thank you,
delightful to
David. Thank
speak with
you.
you, and thanks for recording the conversation. It's going to be, yeah, really nice for people to listen to.
Oh, I hope so.
Thanks very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.